its impact with the Florida Star, the largest, oldest, and most read African American newspaper in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia. Claire McLaughlin is the publisher. And now, here's your host for the evening.
Hello, this is Opio, and I am sitting in for Claire McLaughlin. We got an incredible show lined up for you today. But let me say, make sure you pick up a copy of the Florida Star newspaper. We've been around since 1951, doing the work that nobody else want to do or nobody else can do. And see, this is when we're talking about other people acknowledging who we are. Well, that's not what we do. We don't take our cues from white newspapers. We're the black press. We've been around a long time. And this is why you will see stories that you won't see anywhere else, because some people trust us to do the news right. So y'all make sure y'all pick up the copy of the Florida Star newspaper each week. And also 18.2. I think some of y'all know the cat is out of the bag. Y'all see some of the programming that we have on there. How do you like the old school gospel that we're playing on there right now? We've been getting a whole bunch of phone calls on that, as well as those black documentaries. And then we're going to have one coming up with Muhammad Ali. And we got more from Malcolm X and Martin and Marcus Garvey, and we're going to continue to play those, and Black Baseball League and all those good things that you're telling us that you like. We're going to keep playing those. And if you turn on 18.2 right now, you're going to see a documentary that the whole family can watch and you could be really, really proud of. So make sure 18.2, you're on your TV dial. This class, y'all know I teach criminology at JU, and this particular semester I'm teaching organized crime. And the last time I taught it, they went over and talked about some of the organized crime gangs, and we talked about El Chapo. And so my students, they know who El Chapo is, who's in the news right now. They talked about Escobar later, and the Russian mafia, and then we went to Yakuza, some of the Asian mafia, the Tongs, and the regular Italian mafia, U.S. Italian mafia. Right here. And then when they got to the black people, they in the book that I had, they never talked about some of the black mob. They didn't talk about Bumpy Johnson. They didn't talk about Frank Lucas or any of those cats. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna do one better than that. We're gonna talk about somebody here in Jacksonville that's been into it, got out of it, and doing something great and incredible in this city. Right? And so my students are adults. My classes are always packed. And these are students that work at JU, they work in the city government, they work in private business, and my classes are in the evening. And so I get a few of the kids from the daytime. If they're into sports or whatever, they're allowed to take the night classes, because my classes are accelerated courses. So we cover a lot in those classes. And one of the books that I'm using is a book called Dope Black Boy to Rich Black Man. Let me say this title again. Dope Black Boy to Rich Black Man. And the author, and there are two authors. One is Marcellus Womack, a brother out of Chicago with the FAMU. But the main guy who the book is about is Chris Freeman. And some of you probably heard of the name Chris Freeman. Have you ever heard of Beautiful Hair for You? In those commercials that you hear, and it's owned by us, right? You heard of that? Well, Chris Freeman is in the studio right now. We're using this book for the class, and we're having a good time already. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, how you doing?
All right, Chris is a homeboy. Chris knows about Black Pine. A lot of you know I raised a lot of my life in Black Pine. I live in a trailer. I lived in the hood of the trailer in Atlantic Beach. And it's a close-knit working class community there. And there's a lot of people related to each other. And there's a lot of Freemans down there. Boy, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of Freemans down there. And a lot of other people down there know who Chris is because, oh, that's my cousin. Everybody's like, oh, that's my cousin, that's my cousin. And when they're saying that in Atlantic Beach, they're not playing around. There's a lot of people that's related to each other. Chris, tell us a little bit about what is this book about?
Well, it's basically about changing your life. Like if you are involved in something, that's illegal. It shows you how you can use those same skill sets to do something positive. That's the basis of the book. It also helps. It's good for a mom that doesn't understand her son, a dad that doesn't understand his son. It's basically for that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, in Jacksonville, they use the criminal justice system the wrong way. This is why you got these large number of people that are in prisons. In white communities, they didn't do that. They found alternative sentencing. They found various different things to do. I can remember some years ago, there was an article that was written in the New York Times, and it talked about some of these guys who are on the streets who are geniuses. That run a dope game the way a CEO would run a corporate company. Chris is one of these guys. Talk about how did you first get into selling drugs?
Well, I grew up in Atlantic Beach, and it was just a lot of guys that, they was around selling drugs. I used to see the flashy cars, the jewelry, the women, and I just wanted to be a part of it. So I used to always go where it was at and watch everybody, see what they're doing, try to pick up on what they're doing. And one day, one of my cousins, he told me to hold something for him because he didn't want it to take it into a certain place. And I held it, and something just said, man, go out there to Canterbury Court and see if you can get off it. So I go down to these apartments, Canterbury Court. They changed the name of them now, but back then it was called Canterbury Court.
Yep.
Yeah, and I stood out there, and I wasn't even out there 5 minutes. A lady walked up to me and asked me, for a dub. And I gave her one of the pieces that I had in my pocket, and I just seen how fast I was like, whoa, I just made $20. I was like 14 years old. I'm like, whoa, I just made $20 that quick, And when
this is the 90s?
Yeah, that was in the 90s.
This is the 90s. It was $20 for a 14-year-old in the 90s.
Yeah, it was in the 90s. And I was like, whoa, I made it this quick, And I went back to my cousin. He was saying that something was missing. I'm like, yeah, man, I had sold it. So he told me I owe him $10. So I'm like, okay, I owe you $10. And I get to keep the other 10. And he's like, yeah, what you did with it? I told him what I did with it. He's like, boy, you going to prison. Then he told me that. He told me I was going to go to prison.
So the first time you sold a rock, your cousin said, man, you're going to go to prison.
Yeah, he told me I was going to prison.
But this is money.
Yeah, it's money. And when I went to prison, I thought about what he said. Like his face, that same face that he said it with, he said, boy, you going to prison. It's the same face I remember when the U.S. Marshals came and got me.
Okay, so how far did you go? Tell me, because in the book you lay out, okay, I worked my way up to here. I was eating peanut butter sandwich, and then I go to the next one, and I ball out. Talk about that process.
Oh, the process is basically discipline. And I use the same thing in business too, or in legitimate business. It's just being disciplined, saving up to get to that next level. A lot of times, like you say, you want one. Like when I started my hair company, I wanted one store. Then now I'm like at about 10 stores. But I just wanted one store, just like when I was in the streets, I wanted one key. I remember saving up to get the first key, eating peanut butter sandwiches, eating bologna sandwiches, not going out to eat, being conservative on not buying clothes unless I really needed it. I saved up enough money to buy what I wanted. Once I bought the kilo, then, I seen that I can go up, and then I ended up buying. Once I got 1 kilo, I said, well, man, I need 2 of these. Got 2, 3, and then, it just kept getting bigger and bigger.
So tell me about what you were buying. Tell me how people were looking at you when you were out on the streets hustling.
Well, when I bought my first kilo, I was 19 years old. I was really young. A lot of people, like even today, when I go back to around the neighborhood, a lot of times they think I'm a lot older than, not by my looks, but by my history. A lot of the little youngsters that's out there, they done heard about me, and they'll think I'm probably in my 50s, about 45 or something. They wouldn't know I'm still in my 30s. So they just think of, because I started like when I was 14 years old. I was buying a quarter kilo at 17. That was a lot of money back then for a 17-year-old. I was paying like $6,000, $5,700 or something like that for it. I run through it in about 2 days. And as a 17-year-old, I can't even put a car in my name, but I got a backyard full of cars with candy paints on them and gold Daytons, and I got my cousin them. They got to put everything in their name because they was older than me, but I'm I'm like the go getter out the bunch. So. Yeah,
let me tell you how this works. One of the reasons I really wanted to use the book in my class, because he actually has a lot of the information from a book called The Outlier. The Outlier is by Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell is one of my favorite writers. He has a book called A Tipping Point. I forget this other book, but The Outlier. And The Outlier kind of shows that, the rule of I think it's rule of 10,000, The Outlier, 10,000 hours, you become a genius, or and that's when you really show what talent is. It's not really talent, it's really hard work, right? And so, but it all starts from somewhere. If you're not really smart in school, don't get into the drug game, because you're going to end up not making no money at all. You make more money at McDonald's, as some of these reports have said. The average person. Well, unless you're a genius like this guy is, right? But it comes from somewhere. Just dig deeper, you can see something else that happens. Now, talk about you as a candy seller in school before you even sold drugs.
Oh yeah, when I was in school, I used to sell candy. I used to gamble too. I don't know if I put that in my book. Yeah, I think I did put that in my book too, about the gambling. But I used to sell blow pops, and it was this store, Woolworths. Yeah, Woolworths. Back then, we used to go to and buy the blow pops and sell them for $0.25. And I saved up and bought some walkie-talkies for me and two of my other partners, and that's how we communicated through the school. Like if just say the dean was coming, hey, the dean is on the 600 hall. Don't you look out for him. Or Brenda, she needs some candy over there on the 300 hall. Make sure you take it at, and she already owed me $0.25, so make sure you get the 50 cent from her. So that's it was kind of like building a organization. It's the same as like building an organization, like when you build a business organization.
How old were you when you did this?
It was like 12 and 13.
12 and 13. Okay, so yeah. Let me tell you how. And what school you at? Kirby?
I was at Mayport.
At Mayport? You was at Mayport?
Yeah.
One of my favorite schools.
The Gresham
Mayport Junior High. Yeah, you was at Mayport Junior High. Now, so you mean to tell me this is a guy who creates a candy organization and is making money with walkie-talkies and the whole 9 yards? Somebody couldn't pick him up and say, this is a talented young guy. Let's figure out something that we can do with this guy. This guy probably should have been in Bowles or in Stanton somewhere, right? But no, if he's played sports, that's where he would have been. But you got this genius operating this type of way, and you can't recognize that this guy's a phenom and use him the way that you do that in white schools. Right, they do that in white schools. They find out who the talented ones, and they figure out other things to do. And I'm not talking about sports. I'm not talking about sports. When it comes to blacks, that's when you find, that's a phenomenon. Well, this guy is a brain that was doing. Is a very young businessman then, and then ultimately he gets his hand on drugs, and he does very well at that. Gets his hand on hair. And now he's doing millions of dollars on that. All right, I tell you what, we're going to go to a break. Y'all stay tuned. We're going to talk to Chris Freeman a little bit more. His book is called Dope Black Boy to Rich Black Man. I'm using it in my class right now, and it's an incredible education. We haven't even scratched the surface of what this book is doing. And when you talk about young people, you got grandkids, bring them in front of the radio right now. Also, we're going to be running this on 18.2. And so you're going to be able to see this throughout the week and next week as well. I tell you what, we're going to go to a break. We'll be right back. This is Opio on Impact. All right, so let me, so we leave the camera. All right, so this is the book right here. Yeah. one of my heroes in the book, Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, I love
And as a matter of fact, this is the Marcellus. We're going to talk a little bit about Marcellus when we come back off the break. But I also want to really talk about beautiful hair for you and that business becoming really big, and some of the wars that go on within that business right there. So y'all stay tuned. Well, I love this, man.
Now you know the Florida Star, Northeast Florida's largest and oldest, most read African-American newspaper, serving since 1951 in more than 200 locations. The Florida Star, news you can use, news you can trust, the people's choice, striving to make a difference. The Florida
$3
Star.
million last year with connecting inmates with the people.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty smart.
With the phone calls
Yeah.
and the pictures
Give
or
us
something like that.
local numbers and stuff. Pretty smart.
I was trying to figure out something I can figure out what he's doing. You know, so I can make some money on it. How is he making money on the local call?
Because what he is doing is he's getting them local numbers. And he's charging them for doing it.
For being most factual.
So they say whatever prison you at, let's say if you in California,
Right.
when you call Florida, it's long distance. But if I get your family to get a local phone number with a cell phone with a local number on it,
Right.
then it'll be local.
Right.
So the phone calls won't be $3. I think it was $3.45 when I was in there. But a local call is on like $1.
Impact with the Florida Star with your host, Clara McLaughlin.
This is Opio, and we are back here at the Florida Star program Impact. Also 18.2 Star TV is on the rise. Really good programming. In the studio, I have Chris Freeman. We're talking about his book, Dope Black Boy to Rich Black Man. This is the owner of Beautiful Hair for You. Talk a little bit about how did you get into selling hair?
When I was on the end of my prison sentence, they had this thing, Coralinks, and I started communicating with people on the outside. And this lady from Atlanta, she was telling me about the hair industry, and you know, it didn't sound too cool to me. Let's just say it that way. And I was like, it sounds like girls do stuff like that, you know. So, you know, I thought I was gonna be a writer when I get out. So I ended up hooking up with the young lady, you know, and she showed me some things about the hair industry. And you know, once I got the hair, and what I did was I started studying what I was selling. I found out, you know, where it came from, you know, the terminology of the hair industry. I learned about hair. So that way, when I sell it to you, I know exactly what I'm talking about. And it was a niche market because the type of hair extensions that I was selling, they didn't have it here in Jacksonville at the time. It was something, you know, that they were still buying beauty supply store hair here. You know, and when I introduced it, I'm basically responsible for really introducing it on a large scale in Jacksonville.
So what's the difference between the beauty supply store hair and the hair that you have?
I sell real hair. You know, it comes off a person's head like it's a donor hair. Their hair is not really real. Yes, it's blended with different things. You know, it's not real hair. It's not like what I sell. They play with the words, you know, because they bet on our ignorance. Because really the best hair to get is called Remy, but the Koreans started putting Remy on the hair that they were selling that's really not real Remy. And because they knew internationally that was the best hair. So when they said that, oh yeah, we sell Remy hair, they had all the people talking about, oh, I wear Remy, thinking it's the best hair, when really it wasn't real Remy. Just like right now, the black women was going in there asking them, when I first started selling hair, then they were asking them, do you have this hair that this guy Chris has? Do you have Malaysian? Do you have Brazilian? So then they started putting Brazilian on the boxes of hair they have. Brazilian beach wave, Brazilian this, because this is in their mind, these black people don't really read. They gonna see Brazilian and they gonna take it and run with it. Because for a long time, they also bet on us not sticking together.
Right.
They think that in their mind, oh, they'll support us before they'll support this black guy, you know. And the times changed, you know. The times changed, so that's how I was able to come up in it.
So tell me because in your book you got these things called transitional skills. What's the transition? What are you doing the same that you did in the dope game? Because what's the most you made in the dope game? What was, say, average that you were making per day, per week, per month, or something like that in the dope game?
Well, in revenue, I used to make a lot, you know, but net profit, probably about 50, 60,000 a month net profit after all the expenses.
60,000 a month after everything is expensive.
Yeah.
In your pocket.
Yeah, but it was times like I'll wake up in the morning, I'll go down to Old Mayport, go meet some people down there, come back up to Mayport, regular Mayport. By the time I get to Black Pine, I'm up 10,000, you know, and that was every morning.
In a day.
Yeah, in a day. Man. But that's not all profit, that's revenue.
Right.
See, we understand what it is now, you know, but at that time, you know, it was a lot of money. But once you break it down, you know, with all of the expenses that go in, the cost of goods and everything, then you see the net.
Right. Right. Okay, so what are you doing the same now in the hair industry?
Oh,
totally legit that you did in the dope game that made you success.
Well, I'll say managing money. You know, I manage money because if you buy, you know, just say you buy 5 keys and it costs a certain amount and you spend all the money up and you can't buy the 5 keys, you know, you are not managing money well. Quality control, make sure that the product is good, you know, just like with the hair industry, I make sure that I have the best hair extensions. So I inspect the product before it goes out. Customer service, if I sell you something, you know, and you trying to cook it up and it ain't working right, I'm going to come to your house and probably show you how to make it come back, you know. And that's customer service that you don't really understand what these words, this terminology is when you're in the streets, but that's what it is. And the same thing happens now. I put a guarantee on my hair. If there's a problem with my hair, you bring it back to the store, we going to replace it. That's good customer service. Customer service is number one. Even when I was in the street, it was number one. You know, I know you got bad license, but I got good license. Sit home, man. I'm going to bring it to you.
Right. Okay. I'm going to tell you, this man, he talks to young people. When young people see him coming, they'll listen to him where they won't listen to a lot of us square-looking dudes. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about for real. Now, Chris, also, what I found out on Facebook is that there was a friend of ours that lived on Jack's Beach, and she had cancer. And we found out that Chris had given her a thing of hair so she can feel good about herself while she's going through the struggle of cancer. I think it was Elaine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, she from Jack's Beach, huh?
Yeah, Jack's Beach.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this is somebody that's using his gifts and his fortune to be able to help other people. Now, what's the next thing that you got going on? Because I know you got a lot of coals in the fire right now. Tell us some of the other things you got going on.
Well, I'm working on another book. It's geared at business, how to succeed in business. You know, and it's for us. You know, opening up more stores.
Tell us about. I want to talk a little bit about the revenue that you're making. Tell me about going from selling out of the trunk to how much money the store makes, and then what you are projecting to make, say, next year.
Yeah, my companies, you know, together, you know, I have different locations all over the country, and I'm a big wholesaler. People don't know that, like, a lot of times, like, even it's a lot of companies that I supply hair to. It's more than, you know, what people see as these locations. Yeah, but like I was telling you today, I shipped 200 bundles to the Midwest. 150 bundles down south just today. Every day I'm shipping out hair, you know, with $500-$600 in shipping it cost every day. You know, just the other day I shipped some hair. The mailman stole some of the hair and got arrested. Yeah, the mail courier. He cut open the box and took 18 bundles out the box.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah, he went to jail for that. But yeah, it's legitimate money. Last year I did 2.1 million last year. This year I probably do 3 because I have a lot more locations.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, one of the things that took him out of the crime life, he was in a prison, and they were doing role playing because he was in a special program, and he saw how, based on a reenactment where one of the prisoners was a kid and say, "Mommy, I'm hungry," and ultimately that had effect on him. Talk about that.
Yeah, when we was doing this role play, because I took this course in prison because I was just tired, so I said I want to change my life, and I was going to do whatever it takes to not go back. So I took this class. It's geared at cognitive thinking, and it's kind of reprograms the way you think, so you won't think criminal all the time. It changed the way I think. So we used to do these role plays, and it was this little, his name was Win. I think he was Chinese or something like that. But he played the role of a kid that mom kept going out buying crack. And he used to say he was hungry and, he was starving. He had dirty clothes and, stuff like that. And when you're a drug dealer, you never see that part, of the equation. You just look at them as a customer or, a commodity. They just it's just like this faceless person. He's just you never see the people that you hurt.
Right.
You don't even know you hurting this person, but it's some children at home that you done, took this money from, and you just threw it away. You might have took the money and what he'll live off of and he can eat off of. You done threw that in the club at the strip club. Just threw it up in the air, not even at a particular woman. You just threw it up in the air for nothing,
Right.
Or just bought drinks with strangers with what could have fed this little boy for a whole week, that role play right there, it struck home with me.
Man, and changed his life, and he turned his life around. And see, this is what we need, y'all. We got to think outside the box. The police are not going to solve your problems. They believe that everybody should go to jail and stay in jail. We got to get away from that. And I'm talking about you black people. Some of y'all know that something's going wrong in the criminal justice system. We have to change this thing around. And this is a brother that's a great example of doing it right here in this city. This is Chris Freeman. And there's a book, again, it's called Dope Black Boy to Rich Black Man. Chris, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
No doubt. And we got these tickets for the Universal Circus. Make sure you give us a call, 766-8834, 766-8834. Come to the office tomorrow and pick them up. The tickets are for Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock at the Prime Osborne. This is Opio, and this is Impact. We'll see you next time. Peace and love to you.